Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I have a recipe for super delicious, super easy, and of course, super cheap vegetarian enchiladas. Alright, if you're new here, I'm Claire. My channel is all about mom stuff, lady stuff, and life stuff. So definitely hit that subscribe button down below. I love to cook. I especially like to find ways to make things really inexpensive and really easy. So if you're that type of cook, keep watching. So I had this idea that I was going to make enchiladas today, and I don't have a recipe, so I went to YouTube, of course, like you probably are doing right now, and I tried to find a good recipe for vegetarian enchiladas, and I had a horrible time finding something. Some of them needed ingredients that I didn't have, a lot of fresh food, which I don't really have available to me right now. I don't have any, fresh picked jalapenos, and I don't have any of that kind of stuff, and I'm thinking, all right, what am I gonna do here? I even found a recipe for vegetarian enchiladas that used a can of cream of chicken soup in it, and I'm thinking, all right, well, if it doesn't exist on YouTube, maybe I should make it. So I did a little experimenting, and I've come up with a recipe for you guys that is actually vegetarian, and if you skipped on the cheese on top, it would also be vegan. So without further ado, let's get into the recipe. All right, for this recipe, you are going to need half an onion, a can of sweet corn, a can of black beans, a package of corn tortillas, 2 cans of the enchilada sauce of your choice. I like the red mild. And also the cheese of your choice. I've got some Mexican style shredded cheese. I normally shred my own cheese, but this looked pretty good today, so I decided to give it a try. In the way of spices over here, we've got some ground paprika. I also selected the chili powder, some minced garlic, some cayenne pepper, and then I also found this fresh cilantro, but you could definitely use dry cilantro, or if you're not a cilantro person, just skip that part. The first thing I'm gonna do is chop up my onion. Now, I don't know if this is like genetic or whatever, because my sister has this too. I have the literal hardest time cutting an onion. Like, my eyes are so red and puffy, like I can't even see anything. So anytime you see me cut an onion in my videos, just know that I'm doing it completely blindly and hoping for the best. So now I'm going to just put some oil in a pan. You could use whatever oil you got. I like to use olive. And I'm just going to saute it till like they get a little bit translucent. And I'm also going to add my garlic at this point. I'm not measuring. I just use a big old scoop of garlic. It's one of my favorite flavors. It makes everything better. So I'm just going to saute that with the onions. And after that's, cooked, a little, I'm going to add my my cans of veggies, and I have drained both of them, and I've even rinsed the beans a little because I'm like really not into that goopy bean liquid in there. So I just rinsed them a little bit, and I'm just going to combine them in the pan with that onion and the garlic. All right, I'm gonna add my spices now. I'm actually using an entire teaspoon of chili powder. I really wanted this to have a ton of flavor and a little bit of bite to it. So I did use the whole teaspoon, and I'm also putting a whole teaspoon of paprika in there as well. When it comes to the cayenne though, I'm just using a dash because I do want it to be edible, and I'm hoping that my children might even take a bite. So I'm just adding that pretty lightly. And then I'm also adding about a teaspoon of salt, maybe a little bit less. And now I'm going to just stir that up and keep it over the heat for a few minutes, just so that I know that all my spices are nice and dispersed and everything has a nice coating of all that delicious flavor. And before I use my filling, I am going to add my cilantro in. I have just taken a little handful bunch. I would say it's about 1/4 cup. And I am just chopping it up and adding it right into the mix. All right, now it is time for assembly. I am just going to put this can in this like shallow bowl. This enchilada sauce is from Target. I normally get all my ingredients at Aldi, but Aldi stopped selling their enchilada sauce, so I had to go somewhere else. And I'm just gonna put a light little layer of it on the bottom of a pan, kind of like the same way you do with lasagna. Now I'm gonna take my tortillas and dip them in both sides in the sauce. This is gonna be really messy, you guys. It's just the way it goes. And I find that if I do my filling while it's already in the pan, I get slightly less cracking. I did get some pretty big cracks on these today, and more so than I have with other brands of the corn tortillas, so I'm not sure I would buy the corn tortillas again from Aldi, but it really didn't matter that much, and it still turned out fine. So even with a little bit of cracks, it was okay. And I'm just gonna do that till I fill my entire pan. Each enchilada was filled with probably about 1/4 to 1/3 of a cup of my filling, and the amount worked out pretty perfectly. Alrighty, and I did have to open the second can of sauce and use it for like the last 2 enchiladas. And now I'm just gonna pour the remainder over the top. And now I'm also going to cover it with my cheese. Now, you could really use any cheese you like. I normally would go for like a Mexican queso, like a round, but they didn't have it at Aldi, so I went with this Mexican shredded cheese. Shredded cheese doesn't always melt the best because it's coated in that layer of cellulose. So normally I would shred my own cheese, but this looked really good and it had a lot of the different Mexican flavors in it, so I thought, let's give this a go. But you could use cheddar or Monterey or whatever you got, or you could skip the cheese altogether. Actually, I'm going to cover this and throw it in the fridge because it's literally like 9 o'clock in the morning at this point. I just had the extra time to do this right now, so I did it in the morning. I often do that with dinner so that I'm not like feeling chaotic at the end of the day. And when it's about 6 o'clock and I know we are getting ready to eat, I am just going to throw it in my 350-degree oven for 30 minutes. And when it's done, I'm actually going to add a little bit more of that chopped cilantro on top. I think it just makes it look really beautiful and it adds a little bit more flavor. We have paired this with a simple salad. The kids are also having a little fruit salad. And my family actually really enjoyed this recipe, especially my meat-eating husband, who says he didn't miss any of the flavors or the textures from like a traditional, usually I would, in our former life, I would make like a chicken enchilada. So he didn't miss the chicken in it at all, which of course is a total win for me. Alright you guys, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this recipe. The boys are in the bathtub, I'm cleaning up the kitchen, and I gotta say, I really like the way that I did this today because I have pretty much no dishes, just our plates and just the container that the enchiladas came in, which is actually in the fridge with the leftovers in it. So really easy on the cleanup doing it earlier in the day that way, so I would definitely recommend that, or putting it in the freezer and having it on another night. That's always a good plan too. So let me know what you thought of this recipe, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye!